Greetings and welcome to the Moofies and movie reviews. So we are kicking things off with our first review, and it's the 2007 movie The Mist by Frank Darabont, based on Stephen King's book. Now I know what you're thinking, this is going to be shit, and well, quite frankly, you wouldn't be far off the mark. Now, if you've never read a Stephen King book, you'd be forgiven for thinking he was some kind of hack, judging by the amount of god-awful movies that have been made from his stories. You can't help but wonder just what the hell is wrong with this guy. Now, fortunately, I have to admit, I've read a book or two of his, and, well, I tried, before nearly lapsing into a coma. I mean, the only books that should be 500 pages, quite frankly, long should be manuals or the fucking phone book. Not that anyone uses one of those things anymore. Anyways, back to the movie reviewing, The Mist. It's not an entirely original concept per se. I believe John Carpenter's The Fog must have been an obvious inspiration for this one, or I don't know, I'm not sure which one came first. By the way, it was far more superior to this piece of crap. So the movie starts and we're treated to an artist painting away in a room that doesn't look like a room an artist would paint in, using dim lighting that really isn't adequate enough for that kind of work, but hey, details and whatnot, Hollywood, Typical horror movie cliche, the power goes out, storm, stuff breaks, blah, blah, blah. Where's this mist? When's it? Come on, bring in the mist. Getting bored here. So it's morning and our hero, if you could call him that, goes outside and has a conversation with his wife, which is not really that interesting. Something about a tree, grandfather's tree, a window, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, not very scary. Moving on to their son and the damage done by a neighbor's tree, because, trees are the tool of the devil. They spot something very weird and creepy and very odd. The mist. Quite frankly, there's nothing to be scared about. It's just a mist on the water. Anyways. Our hero decides to go talk to his neighbor, and it seems there's some kind of tension between them for some reason. And at this point in time, you have to realize that this is going to be a paint-by-numbers kind of story with all the typical plot stereotypes, and if you're expecting any surprises here, well, all I'm going to say is that it's a Stephen King movie adaptation. So we see our hero's neighbor, an African-American male with a temper problem. Pretty weird, since he comes across as a well-mannered and educated fellow. Very unusual. Anyways, his lovely car has been crushed, and off what seems like a fake sympathy for our blonde hero friend, the boys head downtown. So as they drive along with the hero's son, okay, I'm going to stop calling him the hero and actually start referring to him as David Drayton. They see a bunch of army vehicles whiz by, and then they talk about UFOs and some nonsense about Project Arrowhead and some crap. A few more vehicles whiz by, and they seem all a bit kind of worried, and they pull up to the local Crap Mart Incorporated and proceed to head inside. After some more lousy dialogue, we see a guy with a bloody face running towards the market saying, "Something's in the mist." And then the mist comes down and covers everything. Then the store shakes violently, and for some weird reason which is never really explained in the movie. And then some weirdo woman blabs on about some crap. Clearly she's, judging by her appearance, she's not swinging on the same team, as it were. And she starts crying about how she needs to leave because her kids are home alone, and she can't leave them alone. Wah, wah, wah. And the Oscar for Best Lesbian Fake Teary-Eyed Moment goes to, drum roll. After some banter and inane stuff, David D., the man, the hero, steps into back and fumbles around until the steel door back there gets kind of rattled. He talks to a few people about it who don't believe him, and then for some stupid reason wants to switch on a generator and have to go outside to do so. So naturally the person who decides to do this is the bag boy. The ginger bag boy. Oh, God. This is going to be fun. So after a moment of trying to kind of build up the tension, some tentacles appear and begin having a way at the ginger bag boy. And at one point where spikes come out and stab him, and ragu spills out all over him. Now, the effects are pretty lousy. The gore's pretty tacky, so there's very little shock value. Add to the fact that the victim in question is ginger and a bag boy. He more or less had it coming, didn't he, folks? Anyways, after some stupid camera work, we see one of the store assistants fumbling around to find something. Yep, you guessed it. Stephen King movie, break out the fire axe. I mean, really, there's tentacles or spikes able to make even the most ginger people scream in agony. Isn't there anything more lethal than a fucking fire axe lying around? Maybe a machete, maybe a flamethrower. I mean, you know, shop smart, shop S-smart, for fuck's sake. After hacking away at said tentacles, they drag away the ginger bag boy, and the tension between the chaps that apparently got him in that situation ends up with the hero David Drayton punching one of them. Good on you, sport. The situation is pretty ridiculous, really. I think they'd all be in shock or perhaps busy running for their lives screaming hysterically, but apparently I'm mistaken. Anyways, they go back inside the store and think of how to break the news to the people inside that there are spiky tentacle monster thingies in the mist that are willing to touch a ginger person. So this is about 30 odd minutes into the movie. Still another hour and 30 left to go. Oh god, this is going to be a fucking long review, isn't it? So David and the boys explain what happened to the townsfolk, and they and David's African-American friend naturally think it's some stupid prank because, you know, everyone likes to play pranks in emergency situations, you know. Fortunately, Kmart's version of the Jack Nicholson hacked off some tentacle with a fire axe, so they have proof. Despite that, AA lawyer friend and neighbor wants to go outside. And after some childish behavior from him and David to explain their tensions, which doesn't really make sense, he decides to leave with a bunch of people. Now, there are a few racist undertones, but quite frankly, it was pretty stupid and irrelevant. So, the town nutjob, who's a regular Bible-bashing nutcase, rants a bit. Then they talk about protection, and this blonde chick has a gun and 12 bullets, and apparently some other dude has a shotgun in his car. So the AA lawyer jerk guy leaves, and a biker who wants to play hero decides to step out to the car and recover the shotgun. They tie a rope around him for some apparently good reason, which makes no sense, other than to play a ridiculously old horror movie cliche. Yep, the biker is attacked off screen, and we get to see them trying to hold on to the rope and see it tug hole. You know, they just tug, and then they finally reel it in and find it bloody, and then shock, horror, gasp. The biker's legs. Yes, he was cut in half by some monster, yet his pants and boots are not covered in blood. Okay, fair enough. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I believe that the human body contains a fair amount of blood, and a wound, such as having one's torso ripped into two, would bleed kind of profusely. But never mind. A monster must have used one of those katana blades from Kill Bill or something. So after a fade out, it's night time, and we're treated to the most useless scene of the movie, where the cute and hot checkout girl is talking to pretty boy G.I. Joe. And if you're hoping it's horror movie booby time, well, sadly it isn't. After more useless backstory and poor dialogue, the two kiss and then decide that doing naughty things is completely inappropriate. Shame, really, that chick's kind of hot, actually. So in an attempt to protect themselves from tentacle death, they pile a bunch of bags or whatever in front of the plate glass window of the store, which in theory is lame, but fair enough. As they keep watch, one guy is eating some chicken, and then shock, something that was flying around in the background slams into the window. It's a huge, weird and looking CGI bug. A whole bunch of the weird looking CGI bugs cover the glass, and everyone gets super scared because they'll break the glass, and the store obviously is out of bug spray. Now, obviously, the glass breaks, the bugs storm the place, and all sorts of havoc ensues. They try to fight them off, and then, unfortunately, there's a hot checkout girl who gets bitten. She falls down on the floor and makes pained expressions as G.I. Joe, being the typical douche, tries to help her by doing nothing. Forget about finding, anything medical or any alcohol or anything that could help the bite or anything, or maybe sucking the poison out, Then a bigger bat dinosaur creature thingy-majig flies in and does more chaotic things and causes people to do some really stupid things, like set the fire to themselves. I have no idea why. Fire Axe dude, who was put in charge of the gun because he apparently was a shooting champion when he was younger, goes after said flying beasts and shoots them after some kind of tension moments. David's son is nearly killed, and I don't know, something about, leaving with another short-haired lesbian or something, I don't know. Another one of the bugs lands on the crazy Bible bitch, but doesn't bite her, and quite frankly, I can't say I blame it either. I wouldn't want to fucking bite her either. She takes it as a sign or something, because, that's how God works. Hot checkout girl dies from the bite. It's a shame. She was kind of hot. I think I said that already. After some forgettable dialogue, DD, hero boy, goes back and they talk about the Human Torch. Basically, the moron who set himself on fire. He who dances with flames, He asks that they kill him, and they refuse, and decide to go to the pharmacy next door to help him with meds. Okay, so the store they're in doesn't have a pharmacy? Really? And judging by the wounds of that guy, I mean, doesn't he need actual medical attention and like a sterile place to avoid infection? Anyways, I'm not a doctor, so... Despite the danger involved, they put together a makeshift group of people to get supplies from the pharmacy. They also discover that other dyke who did a miserable job of keeping David's son out of harm's way took her own miserable haircutted life for some reason. And then the religious nutjob starts to talk about religious crap, and in all honesty, we're treated probably the best scene in the movie, where, the old granny throws some peas in that bitch's face. Seriously, random acts of violence against crazy people with tinned goods by old age pensioners. Pure genius. Pure genius. Anyways, after the scuffle of the OAP's tinned good attack, the group head outside and next door to the pharmacy. After fumbling around, finding the meds they need, they start hearing noises, looking around and finding webs. And people stuck to the ceiling in the webs. Then they find a live one. The scene has an Aliens vibe to it, although not half as cool, sadly. The military chap apologizes for something and tells them that it's their fault. I'm guessing this has to do with that plot thing. And there's a plot apparently. I'll be damned. He convulses a bit, then spiders come out of him. Then a giant razorback spider-type thingamajig appears, and naturally everyone's quite alarmed. Interestingly, the nasty buggers shoot acid webbing. Once again, I feel like this is a nod to fucking Aliens, but anyways. Either way, it doesn't make much sense. If the other people are wrapped up normally, how can they shoot non-acid webbing? Oh no, I don't really care anyways. Weirdly enough, they also have a face as opposed to a bug or an insect. They have eyes, nose, and what looks like a jaw with normal teeth. Kind of like an Aztec razorback's acid web spider trippy thing. Anyways, the Human Torch's bro gets his leg badly hurt, and the OAP makes a handy flamethrower using some spray can to torch one of the monsters. That would have Spielberg kind of worried. Anyways, they make it back, and of course Mr. Human Torch is dead, and ironically so is his bro. So yeah, that wasn't a complete waste of time, was it, huh? Anyways, after more religious crap and drama, they find 2 of the 3 of the army guys that have hung themselves. Makes no sense, they're just grunts, so it's not like they're responsible, but anyways. And pretty boy G.I. Joe is left to explain that Project Arrowhead, really, was designed to look into other dimensions, ones that surround us. Lame, really lame. I like the crashed UFO idea more than dimensional monsters, but hey, it's Stephen King and he's got like a weird fetish kind of thing for other dimensions, with like Langoliers and there's other bloody movies he made. Anyways, they decide to sacrifice him, and the butcher stabs old G.I. Joe, and then they throw him outside. And he meets his doom in the form of a creature which conjures up a feeling of familiarity. No, I don't mean it looks like a mantis. It just kind of reminds you of some other dimensional creature that likes to dress like a clown and eat kids and... never mind. So Dee and his comrades are obviously worried about what's going on with the Bible Bashers congregation and what it eventually will mean when they decide to turn their religious rants at them. So they hatch a cunning plan to escape. By cunning, of course, I mean absolutely fucking ridiculous and retarded and just useless and just pure crap. So the fire axe guy basically puts some food and supplies in some bags near the door, and in the next morning they plan to flee to Dee Dee's car. So the time comes when they're all asleep and they go to leave, and surprise, surprise, the religious nuts who got owned by the can of peas is awake and has moved the bags and is ready to cause some chaos. They demand a sacrifice, and of course it has to be Dee Dee's little boy. Butcher Boy eyes Dee Dee and the people get riled up and grabby, and the Bible basher gets all loud and excited. And then finally, after what seems like an eternity, Fire Axe Guy shoots her in the gut, then walks up to her while she's on her knees and puts a cap in her head. Why didn't they take her out of the picture when poor G.I. Joe was getting stabbed? I will never understand. And why they didn't just shoot her before she started ranting and making all that stupid nonsense? I don't know. But it's a Stephen King movie. Who cares about sense and reality, Anyways. So they finally leave the store. They're all kind of worried, and then everything seems okay, I guess. And, they are nearly there, and this kind of giant mantis thing kind of grabs the poor smiling Fire Axe Guy. The spiders appear and get someone, and one of the guys runs back to the store, and basically Dee Dee, his dumbass son, Blondie who packs heat, OAP, and the old dude from the beginning gets into the car and drive off. They drive around looking for an end to the mist, but everywhere is ravaged. They get to his home, and his wife is dead. Duh. Then they run into what can only be described as a huge-ass bug, Cloverfield-type gargantuan behemoth creature, which probably was responsible for the store shaking at the beginning of the movie, I guess. I don't know. It's fucking huge, this thing, and it's a shame it wasn't more in the movie, but what can you do? And it's kind of actually, with that scene with the music, which is, Lisa Gerrard's beautiful voice, it's actually kind of cool, but it's just a case of, at this point, who gives a fuck? It's been a shit movie, and the scene just doesn't really add anything at this point. So they drive around till they run out of gas, of course, and what must be one of the most strangest things I've ever seen, Dee Dee contemplates killing everyone to save everyone the pain of being killed. Now, he only has 4 bullets, and there are 5 of them, and he says he'll sort something out. Then bang, 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 and then bang. He's blown out everyone's fucking brains, including his son, Blondie who packs heat, OOP lady, and bleeding nose guy from the beginning. Really? It was that easy for you to blow out your fucking son's brains? So he proceeds to make some moaning pain psycho type sounds that you expect from a person to make after murdering his own son and 3 other people. Then steps out the car so he can be torn to shreds. He hears a loud sound, which is, in the end, actually a tank. Yep, a tank. The military show up with masks and flamethrowers, and a truck drives by with that dyke from the beginning of the movie who no one wanted to help with their kids. That's what we call karma, folks. So he falls to his knees and wails and just, yeah. And then the end. So in conclusion, okay, really, I like the concept of a provocative ending, but this was plain stupid. I mean, wouldn't you at least wait till you've run out of food and water before blowing your own kids' fucking brains out? You weren't in any immediate danger. There was no immediate need to end it all. You could have just waited at least a couple of more hours or something, The logic behind this is seriously flawed. Yeah, everywhere they went was ravaged and covered with a mist, but still, logic would dictate that, considering how easily the idiots in the store were able to keep alive, the armed forces not caught off guard would have eventually been able to, regain control of the situation. But in all honesty, this is what I've come to expect from Stephen King. The majority of all the movies made from his books are complete and utter crap. They have good ideas at moments to them, but usually at some point they just flop over in their own stupidity. It's not his fault, admittedly, because a lot of times the movies are very, very different from the book, and a lot of times they even change the ending. So, I'm making fun of Stephen, but it's not fair. A lot of blame here goes to the artistic liberty that the director had taken. I have to admit, I actually watched this by mistake. I was thinking it was a remake of John Carpenter's The Fog, and started to give it a chance, seeing there was possibilities for it being a good B-movie style flick, but sadly, I was very, very wrong. I would give this a star rating, but, who gives a shit? It's a bad movie. It doesn't even deserve a star. Things I learned from this movie. So the military are really incompetent when it comes to naming secret projects. African American lawyers who are well mannered have anger management issues. Lesbo dykes with short hair generally tend to survive against all odds. Ginger bag boys get what's coming to them. Religious people are crazy and stupid, but shooting them in the head fixes that. Being a hero means trying to save your son so you can have the pleasure of shooting him in the head later on. And finally, Stephen King really is a wanker.